California dreaming about you.
Hey guys, SimCoder here, and today we are going to finish off the payout part of the Uber app. And to do this, all we have to do is to make a simple HTTP request from our Android app. And yeah, the HTTP request will obviously use the link of the function that we created in the previous license. So if you haven't checked them out, then please do. You need to. But yeah, otherwise the app is basically done. So let's jump right into it and go into our Android project. So I'm going to place a button, a payout button in the history activity. And I'm doing so because, well, I figured this is where it made more sense. So let's go into the activity history, and I'm going to make this a tiny bit bigger. Okay, here we are, and now I'm going to add an edit text and a button. And I'm adding an edit text because that's where the user will choose to which PayPal account I'm going to send the money to. And obviously we are in the sandbox now, but so we are only going to be able to send money to the accounts that we have set up in our PayPal account. One more major thing is that I forgot to tell you in the previous license that you must enable payouts in your PayPal project. So you must go there, and there is a tick box below where you have your app, and just tick it and it will enable the payouts for you. So for now, let's just do this, wrap content, let's place an int, and the int will be PayPal email, and the ID will be payout email. Okay, let's just call it that. And we are going to set the visibility of this to gone, because it is not going to show up to the customer. It is only going to show up to the driver. And so we are going to choose the visibility within the activity. So now let's do button. Button, we are going to call it payouts, and the text will be payouts. Okay, this is vertical, and the visibility is gone, so if we take that out, it will show up. Okay, so now we can jump right into our history activity and get on with the app. So the first thing that we must do is to obviously import the button. So to do that, we are simply going to add a button in here and call it button and payouts. So import the button if you have to, and we are going to import the edit text and payouts email. Okay, grab them, come in here and do find view by ID r.id.payouts, and do the same thing for the payout email. Okay, you can remove this because we no longer need it. And that's it. Now we are going to create a set on click listener, obviously, that will call the HTTP, will make the call for the HTTP request for us. So let's say set on click listener, new on click listener, and in here we are going to call a function that we are going to call payout request, and we are going to create it in a second, so don't worry. Alt enter, enter, go below, enter. And yeah, I'm going to pull this function to the bottom because it is only relevant to one type of the users. So I believe that makes a bit more sense. And now we are going to start our payout process. So first of all, let's do a progress dialog just to make the app look a bit better. So this dialog will show up whenever we make the request, and it is deprecated, but I'm going to use it anyway just so that you guys can see it working. It doesn't really matter. Then say progress equals to new progress dialog, and you can go ahead and use another instrument. I'm just doing this to show you guys it works. Okay, so let's say progress.setTitle processing your payouts, progress.setMessage please wait, and progress.set cancelable, and this is important, set it to false, and we can show it after that. So .show. Okay, and now we are going to start working on the HTTP request. So okay, HTTP client equals to new okay HTTP client. And now we so to make the request, I'm going to jump into our functions file and show you exactly what we need. So in order to make a HTTP request, we are going to pass along a couple of variables that we need to use in here, and those variables are the UID, so this one, and the email. So in this case I have it hard-coded in here. I'm going to change it in a second, so don't worry. But for now, these are the two variables that we need to make the payment. We don't need to pass on the value of the payment because we are calculating it all in here. And you can check the previous lessons if you have any question about it. And after we make that HTTP request, I'm going to jump forward so that you can understand why we are doing this. We are going to wait for this response from the server, and depending on whether it is 500 or 200, 500 being an error and 200 being the payout is successful, we can warn the user if the payout was successful or not. So that's how we are going to go about things. So right now we must create a JSON which will contain the email and the UID. Okay, that's pretty straightforward, so let's jump into it. So JSON array, JSON object, I'm sorry, and say post data equals to new JSON object. And now we are going to simply say post data, and this works similar to how hash maps work. So yeah, say put, and now we are going to give it the name of this variable, which will be UID, for example, and then pass along Firebase auth dot get instance dot get UID, and there's an error. Oh, okay, don't worry about this error, we'll fix it in a second. And then we can, okay, post data dot put, and now we are going to call it email, and now obviously we must get the tags from the mPayout email. So mPayout email dot toString dot get text, better yet, was forgetting that, get text dot toString, and that's redundant, but let's do it. And now to fix this error we must click Alt Enter and surround try and catch, and we can move the second post data in here as well. So yeah, this is just so if there's an error creating the JSON, then there is no problem, the app won't crash, it will just print out the error. Okay, so now we are going to start working on the request body. Request body equals to request body.create, and now we'll need a variable that we'll create right now, which will be the media type. So jumping in the top of it, say public static final media type, and I'm going to place it in all caps because this is kind of like a macro. So yeah, that's the way you should do it. Media type.parse application/JSON. Okay, so grab it, come in here and simply dump in there. Okay, let's say comma post data dot to string. That's it, our body is ready, and now we are going to actually make build the request. So let's say final request build request equals to new request builder. Now say .url, and we are going to pass along our URL for the payout function. So I'm going to jump into the Firebase project and get the payout URL, which is in here. You can grab it, come in here and simply paste it in between double quotes. Then we say which variables we want to pass along, which will be the body contains it, dot add header content slash hyphen type media type. It must be a string. Okay, so it is being funny with us, so we are going to simply come in here, grab and say application JSON slash JSON. It is not important. And then we say that we don't want any cache on this, so we say add header, say cache control, comma, no cache. And one more thing that we are going to add is the add header again, authorization. And let's just say your token. This is just if you guys want to add it in the future. I'm not going to bother with it. So yeah, and say build at the end and finish it off with a semicolon. Okay, so now we can actually send the request. This is a lot of things, I know, but we have to do it all. And say client dot new call request dot enqueue new callback, and it will create for you. Okay, so now we are in the final stretch. So this client will actually make the request for the HTTP request, obviously. So, and in here we have the on failure and on response. So on failure is called whenever something bad happens with us in between sending the information to the server and not receiving it, because then it will be on response but in a separate folder. So if something goes wrong right off the bat when we try to send it, then this on failure will be called. Else, if we are able to send a response and the server sends us back either 500 or 200, the response code, then it will come in here. And this is where we'll spend most of the time. So I'm not going to even bother with this, but if you are having troubles making this HTTP request function, then make sure to debug in here to make sure everything is working fine. And yeah, so on response, let's do this. So we'll say int response code equals to response.code. And this response.code is, as I've said, the 200 or 500. So depending on that, we can say if response dot is successful, so if you are able to receive a response, then we say switch and pass along the response code, open brackets, case 200. We are going to create a snack bar, which, and I'm more and more using snack bars because they look a lot better than toast. So yeah, let's use a snack bar, and if you haven't used it, then this is your first experience with it. And say find view by ID, and now let's go into the layouts and see if we have ID. We don't, so let's come in here and say ID for the main layouts. Just call it layouts, it doesn't need to be fancy. r.id.layouts, and then we pass along that the payout was successful, so payout successful. Okay, and snack bar length long dot show. So it the syntax is pretty similar to the one in the toast, but yeah, it just looks better. And case 500, then this we say error code not complete payouts. Okay, and then we say the default, which when you say default in a switch, that means it will be called whenever both the 200 and the 500 aren't called. So if the 200 isn't called, then it will for sure be another error. Okay, and after all of this is done, in here you can simply say progress. How did I call it? Progress. Okay, we can dismiss the progress. So in here, progress dot dismiss, and as well on failure. Otherwise, it will always be going on and on and on. Okay, so I believe that's it. We have nothing else to do in the HTTP request. We must do other things, but for now, yeah. So let's try and run the app and see if with this we are able to run this code. And we don't care if it doesn't match the info at SimCoder. We aren't using these variables yet, but we will after this, just to make sure everything is running and we are able to receive these response codes. So yeah, let's do it. Okay, so one more thing before I show you the app. You must add the visibility of the payout and the payout email in this if, so in the onCreate, so that if the user is a driver, then we set the visibility to visible, obviously, otherwise you won't be able to do anything. So here I am with my app. So I'm logged in as this driver, and I've made a ride right now, which is this one, and I'm going to pay it out and see what happens. So let's go. Payout successful, so there we go. And if you go in here and let it just load, the payout will appear. Yeah, so right now it isn't updating in here because we are using a predefined UID, so it can't update anything. But yeah, so okay, so it doesn't find anything, so it can't set anything. But that's no problem, we can fix it right now. So now all that's left to do is to come in here and to actually get the UID and the email that we pass along in the post data. so this. So let's do it right this second, and it is extremely easy. We just need to do a couple of things. So let's come in here and say one more thing. Let's come in here and say, instead of this info@simcoder.com or wherever you have, because you can't be using this info@simcoder.com unless you've created an account in your PayPal project with this name. But for now we'll say rec, or better yet request .body .email, and this way we can get the data from here. We say request because it is the variable that's passed along to us when we create an HTTP request. Also, we must find out what the payout is, and for that, instead of UID, we simply say again rec.body .uid, and we can remove this UID up top. And one more thing, we are going to copy that, and in here, instead of UID, we say rec.body UID again. So yeah, that should be it. I'm going to deploy this really quickly and get back to you in a second. Okay, so I've deployed the app. Let's just try to pay out yet again. And there's an error happening. Let's come in here and see what shows up. We reload the page. Rec is not defined. Oh, I made the same mistake that I did in the previous lesson. Okay, I'm sorry. So it is not rec, it is request. I just normally shorten this up. So yeah, just come in here and request, and let's deploy it again, and I'll get back to you again in a second. Okay, so now it should be working. Let's just pay out. Hope for the best. Let's come in here. Wait a second, and let's just give it time. Payout successful, and it updates this and this. Okay, so it is working just fine. Yeah, it is done. One small thing that's needed yet, that we have yet to do, is take care of the balance, and I'm actually going to do it really quickly right now. So yeah, let's just take care of it now so that we don't have to worry about it later. So yeah, let's come in here and look at what we have right now. So right now we get the history IDs. Okay, and right in here we are going to change one thing, which is, as we know in our history child right here, if this child is set to true, that means that this ride hasn't been paid out. So that's what we are going to do. If history dot get value dot toString dot equals true, then we go ahead and try to fetch it. Okay, so now we can jump into the next function, which is the fetch write information. And in here we are going to keep it really similar. I don't believe we must. Okay, the only thing that we have to change is this write price, because we aren't going to calculate it in here because we already know and we calculate it beforehand. So write price equals to data snapshot, instead of distance it is price. Okay, and we are going to convert this to a double dot, and how do you say it? It is value of, I believe, yeah, value of. Okay, done, and done. I believe that's all that we had to do actually. So I'm only going to come in here and change this 1000 to 0, and I'm going to launch the app and see if we are able to show it. So yeah, let's just do it. Okay, so I launched the app and I paid in the customer side, and the price was, let me just see, this one, so 0.7 for whatever. And if you come in here now, you see that the balance corresponds, and it would add up depending on the number of rides. But yeah, that's it. We don't have anything else left to do. I'm going to push all of this to my GitHub, so you can get all the code and you are free to use it. But yeah, other than that, we are done. I'm going to live stream really soon. I have a new PC, so I'm more than able to live stream, and I'm going to, I don't know what I'm going to do in the live stream. Leave a request down below and I'll try to do what you guys wanted. I was thinking about doing one of the most requested videos, which is to display all of the drivers surrounding us in the map. So yeah, maybe I'll do that, but if you have any better suggestion or any suggestion at all, then do please let me know. So yeah, that's all for today. I hope to see you again tomorrow, and ciao!